Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Što ovaj sound ovako smaniš? Nije mi jasno, ovaj sistem sound, što ga smaniš?
Smetam, brez.
Evo da imaš ti mane.
The crusade calls.
Our time has come. Stitches want to play.
Legendary series in this for years. Comes back, get ready, pull some action. Get a couple bucks in here, smoke strips right there. The fans fix it anyway, so we don't care. They'll patch it through microtransaction. So enjoy your pretty nylon bag. Oh, and boy, stop shitting on our swag. You're not getting any money back. You knew this was a one-way wacky track. Dish it up and have your nylon bag. Coming up with it was real drag. Overseas was drink that you won't take, so you're not getting your money back. It just works, it'll last on. It shows people buy money flows. It just works. It just works, overpriced, open wide, earnings rise, take my word. It just works. It just works. It just works. It just works. Our tech is cutting edge as far as I can tell. The creation engine changed it very well. We're not planning on doing anything about it. Skyrim's a limit, don't deny it. I see this mountain, you can't buy it. In the DSC for the price of a real mountain. What's wrong with the train in place of your head? Come on, believe me, you see nothing yet. The battle spaceship with the dragon animation will become a new sensation on the internet. Just shut up, give us your every dime. Buying an armored horse, not a crime. Adios, we need the shadow mirror, last over Skyrim one more time in time. It just works, it'll last on. It shows people buy money flows. It just works. It just works, overpriced, open world, earnings rise, take my word. It just works. It just works, it just works. Now listen up. Welcome to the place frustrate like waves. There's 2.5 peasants with the same ugly face. You're not into small towns, check out big ass planes. 50 times the size of Skyrim, twice as many opponents cave. We at Bethesda know exactly what you want. Hugger gamers inspired us to prove shopping a lot. Now we stock must be bought for an actual 10 spot. And save it now with a big bond for just 20 a slot. You're never getting bored with infinite quests. As every vagabond will put you to the test. The bewitched, the awarded with infinite chests. Full of rusty swords and you spring at the test. Regardless of the skill trees, they were old and lame. These are levels of system in a role-playing game. You can crush and kill and save one more nation. No more levels and skills, only degradation. It just works, it just works. Civilized stars and shows speeds for pylon flows. It just works. It just works, it just works. Overpriced open walls and it's my state by word. It just works, it just works. Little eyes, stunning shows. People buy money for love. It just works. 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 So, who's that for the
Let's
next?
share and look at what is coming next to Fallout 76. The big new features on the horizon on multiple fronts. The public test server was recently put back online, and in this, the next major update is being tested to get a look at what is actually coming. This is really the first details on what's next for the game. Even further, they give us a look at yet another update that's coming later in 2022, and there's even some interesting things in the files around other future content, including some of the first concrete details on Expeditions, the next major feature coming to Fallout 76. Although unfortunately, there's also some things missing, some things that we were hoping to get that still aren't here. So in this video, I want to discuss all of that, what's going on, what is coming, what's not coming, and what's coming even a bit more in the future. So first and foremost, the major event coming this March is Invaders from Beyond. This is going to be a new seasonal event in the game, so what that means is it'll probably last for 2 to 3 weeks, and during that time you can play it, it'll pop up every hour, but after that it'll go away for at least a little while. And this is a pretty cool one, as the title does suggest, and as you're seeing in the background. Fundamentally, the way this event works is invaders from beyond, aka aliens, have infested Appalachia. So this one does feature rotating locations, so when it does trigger, you'll be at a variety of different places. Upon arriving, you get a brief from a new NPC named Homer. Kind of has that daily op styled overlay, and he explains that aliens have set up probe devices at this location to collect brainwave data on Appalachian inhabitants. But Homer has disabled the force field around the probe so we can attack them. The overall design of the event is destroying 3 probes as well as taking out a ton of aliens in the process. Before you could actually take out some of these probes, you have to take out aliens, then alien bosses. During this, you'll face all kinds of threats, and things will almost transform into an all-out war. I can definitely foresee some performance problems with this event in the future. The probes themselves will actually blast off energy that will deal damage to people around them. I saw numerous people die from this, and then a ton of aliens actually beaming down to defend the probes. You have typical Z-Tans that will pop up here, mostly in that first wave, but there's also things like toxic aliens, alien drones, which are a bit tougher and basically just alien robots, alien invaders, which are almost like power armored aliens. Actually a really cool design on these guys. Sometimes the Flatwoods monster will spawn, in particular during the final wave, as well as there's some bosses that will spawn at the end throughout. And the spaceship itself will fire down these beams, and you'll have small explosions happening all around you. The event gets pretty hectic, but it definitely felt like it was in a positive way. The objective is largely to just fight anything you see, with a few times it being more direct to take out one specific thing. But in general, it felt like there was always something to do. You were having to fight a bunch of aliens that were spawning in all around around you from pretty much all sides. You won't just be here AFK. Even if you are here AFK, you'll probably get attacked and damaged, so you kind of have to stay active, running around, moving throughout, and taking down a bunch of enemies. And the design of the new aliens and new alien enemies is pretty cool. I actually liked each of the new ones. The event also features some custom music. Obviously, there's a giant floating spaceship above you, and there's even some custom weather effects, so there'll be a quantum storm in the area. And there's a ton of new rewards. 2 new weapons, the Alien Disintegrator and Electro Enforcer. The Alien Disintegrator is from Fallout 4's Breaking Club, and overall looks pretty awesome. It's kind of like an alien blaster rifle. You probably also remember it from Mothership Zeta. The Electro Enforcer is basically a two-handed version of the Alien Baton. From the event, you'll be able to unlock mods for each of these, and also mods for the traditional Alien Blaster that was already in the game. You get a beer stein whenever you complete the event, but then a ton of alien camp objects. You can unlock things like an asteroid, a Zetan stash, a Zetan tube, an operating table, human tubes, there's 2 of these, and probably some other stuff that I missed or forgot about. One of the cool parts about this event that was data mined but doesn't seem currently live in the files is, when this is active, you'll also have random encounters with aliens around Appalachia. So just when running around, you might see an alien somewhere, or see an alien doing something somewhere. For whatever reason, it seems like Bethesda either didn't or forgot to turn this on the PTS right now, but again, based on data mines, it seems like it will be a feature when this does go live, so not only will you have the dedicated alien event, you'll also hopefully run into them all throughout Appalachia, which is pretty cool, kind of a cool overall world change in a way. And in general, I really like this event. It definitely is quite similar to the Mothman Equinox event we just had wrap up. There's a lot of similarities with both the world spawns, weather changing, the actual theme, and the massive combat the event has, but that's not inherently a bad thing. We've definitely been wanting an alien event in Fallout 76 for a long time, or alien content in general, and well, this is that. I'm definitely excited to see this go live and get to experience it more properly. And something I'll leave for you guys to discover, TT Dome 8 actually got some updates, which do look pretty interesting. And thankfully, Bethesda did not completely drop the ball here, because not only do we get some new alien weapons, some new mods for existing alien weapons, but also they did in fact buff energy weapons with this alien event, or really with the PTS in general. If you're not aware, in Fallout 76 there is a pretty big issue where energy weapons in general kind of suck. The alien blaster in particular is basically utter garbage. This is due to a bug that has basically been in the game since ever. Like, it's always been here even since the first beta, if I remember correctly, where basically in Fallout 76, elemental damage would not be fully accounted when taking into account enemy armor. So elemental damage is going to be energy, fire, cryo, poison, or radiation-based damage. So what this meant was, in practice, when you were using an energy weapon and facing an enemy with resistances around that energy weapon, your damage would just be lower. There was a bug, it was not calculating the damage you were outputting correctly, so whenever you face an enemy with armor, you were doing less damage if you're using one of these elemental damage types. Firstly, this bug did not impact ballistic damage, which is why most people use ballistic-based weapons. And thankfully, this has been fixed. So basically, all elemental damage types got buffed, including things like laser rifles, alien blasters, cryolators, flamers. This means that these weapons are now notably more practical, but it also means that legacy weapons are even more broken. So things like Gatling plasmas, the flamers you always see used in the background, these also get a buff, although to a lesser degree, because they were already dealing partial ballistic damage, but these will deal more damage now also because, again, that formula, how it calculates damage with armor, has been fixed. You are now dealing full damage. It's doing the right calculation. And I'm not going to dive super deeply into how this affects the meta. You can definitely make a 10 or even 30-minute video on that topic, and I'm not the right person to do that. But in general, this means that in Fallout 76 now, energy weapons are relevant. Are they always going to be the best option? No. But now they actually are an option. They're no longer garbage tier, and there's definitely some changes in the tier list, in the top weapons you can be using now. Energy weapons have definitely propped up as being very relevant in certain categories, especially some of the heavy energy weapons. And all around, this is a great one. Should it have been fixed earlier? Absolutely. But I'm at least happy that Bethesda did fix it when they got around to actually implementing an alien event and giving more content around that. So on one hand, praising Bethesda for finally doing it, on the other hand, critiquing them because they should have done this a long time ago. One of the other big changes with this is around Fallout Worlds. Unfortunately, Fallout Worlds were not not working for me on the PTS. I was always getting this error when I tried to join them, but there's no characters to actually select or see a link. So I couldn't test any of these features, but we do have the patch notes, and basically there are a variety of new world settings to try out. Things like turning off perks completely, turn off bats completely. You can make it so buildable objects can now intersect one another, so they can actually go through one another, not just be close by. This seems like it has a ton of potential with custom buildings and creating interesting or unique things, but the most interesting change is Bethesda is making it so you'll now be able to earn score from non-repeatable daily and weekly challenges on custom and public worlds. You can set up a custom server, put on a bunch of OP settings, and still complete score challenges. If you're somebody who actively does the season and kind of treats Fallout 76 almost like a job, there's sadly a bunch of people that log on every day to complete challenges. They're not really playing the game in a traditional sense. They're kind of just doing the battle pass and getting through that so they don't miss out on rewards. Well, if you do that, this will make your life a lot easier if you happen to have Fallout first and can create a custom world where you'll just do OP, you could one-shot everything. Frankly, most people trying to do that anyway, but depending on the challenge, some of the custom world settings will make completing that challenge notably easier. So to me, this seems pretty huge. I personally find the score system, the battle pass, to be completely boring. I basically never touch it, so I'm the wrong person to really analyze it. But Fallout 76 definitely has a large subset of players, at least right now, that do enjoy this. That's a big reason why people keep playing. And with Fallout Worlds basically arriving and being more or less dead as soon as it did go live, it'll be interesting to see what this does to the player count on that. To me, this almost does feel like a legacy step in a way. Like, people talk about the day Fallout 76 is in maintenance mode and finally daily caps, etc. are removed. This definitely feels like the first step towards that in a way, making completing the battle pass notably easier because you could functionally use cheats to complete it a bit faster. Now, I don't think the game is going into maintenance mode anytime soon, but it is interesting to me. Again, to me at least, feels like that first step towards something like that. But it's likely just because nobody's playing Fallout Worlds and they want more people to be playing Fallout Worlds, so this was an easy thing they could do to enable that. There are also some bug fixes and miscellaneous changes on the public test server. You now hide your backpack so it will appear invisible if you want that. Stim packs and diluted stim packs are now 25% lighter, as well as 25% cheaper to buy at vendors. Your medical vending machines will sell more of them. Pretty nice change if you're having fire rate problems. More stim packs will weigh slightly less. The camp budget was reworked for over budget camps. So now if you cross 11,000 budget, you can basically do nothing at your camp outside of destroy things. Basically, the camp budget right now is 10,000, but there are a variety of methods, whether it be accidental, glitches, exploits, etc., to get over budget. If I've seen videos or pictures of really large camps, that's because they're over budget. They're using something to get there. So if you do go 10% over the budget, so if you cross 11,000, meanwhile the budget is 10,000, you're basically going to be locked down. You can't refill vendors, you can't open doors, you can't add new displays, you can't fast travel, you can't even switch your camp off or on. You just walk around your camp and remove items until you are under budget. Overall, it seems like a positive one. This means that there'll be less lag associated with over budget camps. How big of an issue that was, I don't really know. There are obviously numerous points of lag in the game. How much of that is accredited to over budget camps, it's really hard to deduce, but it seems like in general this should be a positive change. Unfortunate for those who were using this to create really cool or interesting camps, but that's just the reality of the situation. And they also fixed that bug/exploit around a colossal problem, where other nukes that weren't directly on top of Monaco Mine would actually trigger a colossal problem and want the Colossus fight to begin. Now basically your nuke has to actually be on top of Monaco Mine for the event to trigger. It was something that was inevitably going to happen, but what this means is you'll probably see a colossal problem at least somewhat less often. The other major addition here was Texture Metal. This is a new traditional event, not anything seasonal or limited time. It'll always be in the rotation. This is not coming in the March update with the rest of this content. This is just coming at some point in the future. They won't actually say when, just a future update. It takes place at the Metal Dome, which was added with the Steel Rain update. It definitely seems like this event internally was hopefully going to come with Steel Rain, or at one point was planned to come with it. It's basically a gladiator arena, a new faction with the Rust Eagles, definitely not the Rusty Devils, no, it's different, have created a variety of battle bots, and the Brotherhood want to gain data on them, which they do by sending 3 Brotherhood of Steel members or Brotherhood of Steel gladiators to fight for 3 rounds in this arena. It's our job to protect those Brotherhood of Steel gladiators and fend off against all of the various bots that will pop up here. It's pretty cool. It has a nice theme overall. There's a few unique enemies with custom robots, as well as some bosses you'll fight, and even these little gold iBots that will spawn in the middle and you can kill them for extra caps. There's one segment where you have to use emotes to cheer up the crowd and get them hyped to continue. The reward you'll get from this will depend on how many Brotherhood of Steel gladiators you keep alive, and the major reward here is going to be this new Botsmith armor. Broken up into individual pieces, you're going to have to unlock each of those pieces to get the full set, but there's other stuff you could win, like a Beerstein display case, a Rust Eagle banner, a cryo bed, and even a globe of Mars, if you're interested. It's a fun event. I think thematically it's really cool and interesting. It's also fun to participate in. There definitely is some issues where people spawn kill the robots super quickly, so there isn't necessarily a ton of robots running around with how OP many of the players are, but in general, positive addition to the game. Definitely happy to see this finally getting added. It was paid to mind a long time ago. One final thing I want to touch on are these high-level expeditions. Familiar expeditions are the big some folks still don't know when, but it seems like this is kind of Bethesda's objective going forward. One of the big new things they have planned. We don't really have a ton here, but it's our first real look at what's actually to come. We got this menu from them, which seems to indicate a few things. We see mentions of contacts with your responders in Appalachia. Perhaps that faction makes a return, or this could just be a placeholder. There's also something from a group named the Union, who seems to be our point of contact in the pit, the location of the first expedition. The expedition itself seems to be described on this right side, and basically it seems like it's going to be a mission. The mission is going to take place in the pit, and specifically in the industrial district of the pit. This likely means that these will be formatted as rotating missions of varying difficulty based off the level entry on this. Well, basically the pit is going to be the broader world space, but the expeditions will take us to specific subsets where we complete some type of mission with some type of objective. Back in Appalachia, it seems like White Springs could be involved here as a hub of some kind, as well as some entries around a fuel requirement. So what could be extrapolated here is White Springs is the hub, but in Appalachia, you're going to have to do some kind of mission to actually get fuel, or probably some kind of grind or event or something. Once you have enough fuel, you could actually commence an expedition and fly on over. That's why with the fuels for Vertibird. So it seems like this isn't exactly like daily op, but perhaps something you could do more sparingly. You have to grind first to get the fuel, then you could go over to the pit, do an expedition, do one of the missions in one of the various places, and then perhaps return back to Appalachia after you're done. Perhaps expeditions will have higher tier rewards or some unique rewards that make this investment and overall goal more justifiable. It seems interesting to me. Not totally sure where this is going to lead. Obviously, this is some pretty high level stuff. We don't know exactly what's to come with this. As data mines do continue, we'll probably find out more, even as Bethesda just mentioned something. But looking at this overall, it definitely feels like this content drought is going to continue. Invaders from Beyond looks awesome, but at the end of the day, it is delayed content, and only a subset of that delayed content, and even beyond that, it's a limited time event. This update's coming out in March, so that means it's going to be a pretty big window before we even get to play it. This is still several months away now, but even beyond that, when it does finally come out, it'll only be one new event here for a couple of weeks. Texture Metal is coming later, and although we will also be getting some of this energy or elemental weapon damage overhaul, still doesn't really seem like there's going to be a ton of justification to return to Fallout 76 unless you're super hyped about this one specific alien event. This also does have that lingering question of what about the other delayed content, notably 4-star legendaries and camp pets, that being on the original 2021 roadmap. They were delayed and we still don't know when they're coming, clearly after March. Perhaps 4-star legendaries will get tied in with expeditions as maybe one of the new rewards. Maybe that's why you do an expedition, to actually unlock a 4-star.